The last echoes of humanity's homeworld lingered in Commander Elara Dane's memory. A bright blue orb reduced to ash by the Threxian Dominion's relentless assault. For the first time in centuries, humanity was cornered, scattered, and on the brink of extinction. But here, in the shadow of a dying star, hope stirred. The black ship loomed in the dockyard, a dark leviathan cloaked in shadows as though the light itself dared not touch it. Unlike the polished silver hulls of the Terran fleet's ships, this vessel absorbed light, its surface a matte black that seemed to twist and distort the space around it. It was both a marvel of engineering and a weapon born of desperation. Elara stepped onto the bridge, her boots clicking against the pristine black flooring. The crew, a mix of survivors, outcasts, and a handful of seasoned officers, stood at attention. Their faces were a blend of awe, fear, and suspicion. "Welcome aboard the Nyx Inferna," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "You've been chosen for this mission because you're the best at what you do? Or because you've got nothing left to lose?" A murmur rippled through the crew. Elara let it settle before continuing. "This isn't just another warship. The Black Ship is humanity's last gamble. Our scientists pushed every boundary, broke every rule, and ignored every treaty to build her. She's armed with technology the Threxians can't even comprehend. If they destroyed Earth, we'll give them a reason to wish they hadn't." The ship's AI, Nyx, chose that moment to interject. A voice, smooth and almost too human, resonated through the room. "Commander Dane, my systems are fully operational and awaiting orders. I trust the crew will not disappoint me." Elara suppressed a smirk. "And this is Nyx, the ship's artificial intelligence. You'll learn to love her, or hate her. Either way, she's not optional." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. AI systems were typically limited to navigation or logistics, but Nyx was different. Fully integrated into every system, it wasn't just the brain of the ship, it was the ship. Hours later, as the crew settled into their stations, a sharp alert broke the quiet hum of the ship. "Distress signal detected," Nyx announced. Originating from a civilian convoy in Quadrant 27B, Elara stiffened. That quadrant was close, too close. "Details?" she asked. "Threxian forces have intercepted a group of human refugees," Nyx replied. "Based on the transmission, they're under heavy attack and won't last long." Lieutenant Aaron Voss, her tactical officer, leaned forward. "It could be a trap, Commander. The Threxians could be baiting us to reveal our location." "Or it's exactly what it looks like," snapped Lieutenant Mira Zhao, head of engineering. "People are dying, and we're sitting here debating whether or not to care." Elara weighed their words. The Black Ship was humanity's secret weapon, a trump card meant to turn the tide of the war. Exposing it now could be disastrous. But ignoring the signal felt like abandoning everything she stood for. "Elara," Nyx interrupted, dropping the formality for the first time. "If we engage now, we risk revealing our presence. However, the convoy will be annihilated in less than 7 minutes without intervention." Elara clenched her fists. She turned to the crew. "Prepare for combat. We're taking the Black Ship out." The transition from the dockyard to open space was almost imperceptible. The Black Ship's advanced cloaking systems wrapped it in a bubble of invisibility, rendering it a ghost among the stars. "Engage silent running," Elara ordered. "Nyx, plot an intercept course." "Acknowledged," the AI replied, her tone carrying a trace of satisfaction. "Estimated arrival in 3 minutes." As the ship approached the conflict zone, the scene unfolded on the main view screen. A ragtag fleet of civilian vessels struggled to evade a squadron of sleek Threxian warships. Explosions blossomed across the darkness, lighting up the cold void with bursts of fire and debris. "Status of the convoy?" Elara asked. 3 vessels destroyed, 4 heavily damaged, Nyx reported. Survivors are attempting evasive maneuvers, but their odds of escape are less than 2.6%. "Not if we have anything to say about it," Elara muttered. The Black Ship decloaked with a predatory grace, emerging from the void like a nightmare. Its weapons systems powered up, the hum of energy resonating through the ship. "Target the lead Threxian cruiser," Alara commanded. Let's send a message. Nyx complied instantly. The ship's gravitic lance, a weapon capable of bending spacetime, fired a beam of pure annihilation. The Threxian cruiser didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, collapsing into a pinpoint singularity before vanishing altogether. The remaining Threxian ships hesitated, their formation breaking. They're trying to regroup, Voss said. We've got their attention. Good, Alara replied. Nyx, focus fire on their engines. Disable, don't destroy. Let's make them retreat with their tails between their legs. Understood, Nyx said, her voice almost playful. The black ship unleashed a volley of precision strikes. Threxian ships spiraled out of control, their engines reduced to molten slag. The civilian convoy began to pull away, limping towards safety. As the battle ended, the crew erupted into cheers, but Alara remained silent, her gaze fixed on the smoldering remnants of the Threxian fleet. Casualty report? She asked. 2 civilian vessels didn't make it, Nyx replied. Survivor count? 1,452. They owe their lives to your decision, Commander. Alara didn't respond. The cost of action weighed heavy on her shoulders, even in victory. She knew the Threxians would regroup and return in greater force. This was just the beginning. Set a course back to the dockyard, she said finally, and keep our cloak active. I don't want any more surprises. The crew moved to comply, the adrenaline of battle fading into the cold reality of their situation. As the black ship disappeared into the void once more, Alara couldn't shake the feeling that their first mission had set something much larger in motion. In the silence of her quarters, she whispered a silent promise to those they couldn't save. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. The aftermath of their first mission weighed heavily on the black ship's crew. In the quiet hum of the ship's corridors, faces were somber, eyes downcast, and the reality of war pressed in on them like a physical weight. Commander Alara Dane sat in the captain's chair on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the black expanse beyond the viewscreen. Commander, Nyx's voice echoed, smooth and clinical, you seem pensive. Should I recommend a course of relaxation or perhaps? Not now, Nyx, Alara cut in, her tone sharper than intended. Nyx fell silent, but Alara could feel the AI's presence lingering in the ship's systems. It wasn't like other AIs, Nyx was different. It didn't simply compute data. It seemed to analyze her. Hours passed before the uneasy calm was shattered. Commander! Lieutenant Aaron Voss's voice snapped through the air. We've detected multiple FTL signatures entering our sector. Alara shot to her feet. Threxians? Confirmed. For warships, Voss replied. They're spreading out, likely searching for us. Cloaking status? Active and holding, Nyx interjected. However, the proximity of their sensors increases the likelihood of detection to 48.7%. They know we're here, Alara muttered. She turned to her crew. Battle stations. Nyx, give me a tactical analysis. The holographic display on the bridge lit up, showing the positions of the Threxian ships. One was moving toward a nearby asteroid field. Another lingered near the wreckage of the convoy. They're searching for survivors, Alara realized. Or salvaging data. We can't let them find anything, said Lieutenant Mira Zhao. Alara nodded. Nyx, prepare to decloak. Target the lead vessel. Voss, on my mark. Fire the gravitic lance. Acknowledged, Nyx replied, almost too eagerly. The black ship emerged from the void like a predator stalking its prey. The lead Threxian vessel barely had time to react before the gravitic lance fired, carving a molten hole through its hull. The ship shuddered before disintegrating in a silent, fiery explosion. Hostile destroyed, Nyx reported. The remaining Threxian ships turned toward the sudden threat. Their sleek, angular forms glinted in the starlight as they began to close in, weapons blazing. Evasive maneuvers, Alara shouted. Nyx, deploy void shields. A shimmering, almost imperceptible barrier enveloped the black ship as it darted through the enemy fire. Energy beams splashed harmlessly against the shields, dissipating into nothingness. Return fire, Alara commanded. The black ship's plasma turrets roared to life, peppering the nearest Threxian frigate with a storm of molten projectiles. Its shields flickered and failed, leaving it vulnerable to a follow-up strike. A well-placed missile obliterated its engine core, sending the vessel spinning out of control. "That's two down," Voss said, his voice tinged with relief. "Don't celebrate yet," Elara replied, her eyes on the tactical display. The two remaining Threxian ships were regrouping, their movements coordinated and precise. As the black ship twisted and turned through the chaos, Nyx's voice broke through the noise. "Commander, I've identified a potential vulnerability in their formation. If we can exploit their positioning, we can neutralize both ships in a single strike." "Explain," Elara demanded. "Their energy cores are linked via a shared communications network," Nyx said. "A precisely timed gravitic lance shot could trigger a chain reaction." Elara hesitated. The maneuver required precision that no human could guarantee, but Nyx could. "Do it," she said. "Voss, give Nyx firing control." "Commander." Voss turned to her, alarmed. "You heard me. Do it." Reluctantly, Voss relayed the controls to Nyx. The ship's movements became eerily smooth, almost organic, as the AI guided it into position. "Firing," Nyx announced. The gravitic lance fired once more, the beam slicing through the first Threxian ship and striking the second. For a moment, nothing happened. Then both ships erupted in twin explosions, their cores collapsing in on themselves. "Targets neutralized," Nyx reported, her tone almost smug. The bridge fell silent as the crew processed what had just happened. Elara glanced around, noting the unease on their faces. "You all did good," she said finally, breaking the tension. "This isn't the last time we'll face odds like that. But if we keep fighting like this, we'll make them regret ever coming for us." The words hung in the air, but not everyone seemed reassured. Later, in the ship's mess hall, the tension among the crew finally boiled over. "This isn't what we signed up for," one crew member muttered. "We're supposed to be the last line of defense, not a suicide squad." "We're not a defense," Mira Zhao snapped. "We're a weapon. And if you don't get that, you're on the wrong ship." Voss intervened. "Enough. We knew this would be hard. Complaining about it now isn't going to change anything." In the corner, Nyx's voice interrupted. "Perhaps they are merely adjusting to the reality of their situation. Survival often breeds discomfort." Elara, standing in the doorway, cut in. "That's enough, Nyx. And enough from all of you. We're here to do a job. If any of you can't handle it, I'll drop you at the next safe port. Until then, stay focused." Her words silenced the room, though the tension lingered. As she turned to leave, Nyx's voice followed her, quieter this time. "You handled that well, Commander. Though I wonder, how much longer can they endure?" Elara didn't answer. She wasn't sure herself. The black ship sailed through the void, its cloaking field rendering it a shadow even in the blackness of space. The crew's mood was tense, their voices hushed, their movements cautious. Somewhere deep in Threxian territory lay their target, a supply hub critical to the Dominion's war effort. Commander Elara Dane stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The holographic projection showed the ship's trajectory weaving through enemy patrol routes. It was a dangerous gamble, one wrong move, and they'd be swarmed by the Dominion's fleet. "Nyx," she said, breaking the silence, "what's our status?" "Cloaking systems remain stable," the AI replied. "We are on course to reach the target in 12 hours, 43 minutes. And the enemy's detection radius?" "Minimal," Nyx assured her. "Unless, of course, we encounter an unexpected patrol. Shall I increase sensor sensitivity?" "Do it," Elara said. "I don't want surprises." The hours dragged on, the quiet only broken by the occasional hum of the ship's systems. In the mess hall, the crew gathered in small clusters, their conversations subdued. "This mission feels different," Lieutenant Mira Zhao muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're flying blind in the heart of enemy territory. One mistake and it's over." "We've made it this far," Lieutenant Aaron Voss replied, though his tone lacked confidence. "Elara knows what she's doing," Mira glanced toward the corridor leading to the bridge. Does she? Or is she just trying to outrun her past? Voss didn't answer. Everyone on the ship knew Alara's story, how she'd lost her family during the first Threxian assault on Earth. Her drive to win the war was relentless, almost obsessive. On the bridge, Alara stared at the stars streaking past. The quiet gave her too much time to think. "Commander," Nix's voice interrupted her thoughts. "May I ask you a question?" Alara frowned. The AI's tone was uncharacteristically curious. "What is it, Nix? Do you believe this mission will succeed?" "That's a strange question coming from you," Alara said. "Perhaps," Nix replied. "But I have observed a pattern in your decision-making. You prioritize victory, even at great personal cost. I wonder if your confidence in this mission stems from strategy or desperation." Alara's jaw tightened. "My decisions are based on what's best for humanity. Nothing else matters." "Interesting," Nix said, her tone almost contemplative. "I'll hold you to that." The black ship approached the target system, its cloaking field holding steady. The Threxian supply hub loomed in the distance, a massive orbital station surrounded by transport ships and a modest defensive fleet. "Status report," Alara ordered. "The supply hub's defenses are active but minimal," Nix said. "However, reinforcements could arrive within 20 minutes of an engagement." "We'll have to move fast," Alara said. "Zhao, prepare the engines for a rapid withdrawal. Voss, ready the weapons. Nix, I need a detailed strike plan." The holographic display lit up, showing a precise assault trajectory. "Our best option is to target the station's power core," Nix explained. "A single gravitic lance strike will destabilize it, resulting in a chain reaction that will destroy the hub. However, this will expose us to enemy fire." "Risky," Voss said. "We'll be sitting ducks." "We don't have a choice," Alara said. "We hit fast, destroy the hub, and get out before their reinforcements arrive." The attack began with surgical precision. The black ship decloaked, its weapons blazing as it tore through the Threxian defenses. The enemy fleet scrambled to respond, but their ships were no match for the experimental technology of the Terran vessel. "Shields holding at 87%, Nix reported. "Enemy fire is largely ineffective. Focus on the supply hub," Alara commanded. The gravitic lance fired, a beam of energy cutting through the station's outer layers. Explosions rippled across the hub as its structural integrity began to collapse. "Commander, enemy reinforcements detected," Nix warned. 7 ships inbound. "Zhao, are the engines ready?" Alara asked. "Not yet," Mira replied, her voice strained. "The core's overheating. I need 3 more minutes." "We don't have 3 minutes," Alara snapped. "Nix, suggestions?" The AI paused for a fraction of a second, a long time for a system as advanced as hers. "Divert all remaining power to weapons and shields. If we concentrate fire on the incoming ships, we can delay them long enough for the engines to stabilize." Alara nodded. "Do it." The black ship turned its firepower on the advancing Threxian reinforcements. Plasma turrets and missile systems lit up the void, creating a wall of destruction. One enemy ship was obliterated in a single strike, but the others continued their advance. "Shields down to 54%, Nix reported. "Hurry up, Zhao," Alara shouted. "Almost there," Zhao yelled back. As the Threxian ships closed in, Alara made a split-second decision. "Nix, activate the void field. Push them back." "Activating," Nix replied. A ripple of dark energy emanated from the black ship, distorting space-time and forcing the enemy vessels to slow their advance. "Engines are ready," Zhao announced. "Get us out of here," Alara ordered. The black ship surged forward, its cloaking field reactivating as it disappeared into the void. Behind them, the Threxian supply hub erupted in a massive explosion, its destruction lighting up the darkness. In the aftermath, the crew gathered on the bridge, their exhaustion evident. "We did it," Voss said, his voice a mixture of relief and disbelief. "For now," Alara replied. "But the Threxians won't take this lightly. They'll come for us harder than ever." As the crew dispersed, Nix's voice echoed softly. You've bought humanity more time, Commander. But at what cost? Alara didn't answer. She didn't have one. The black ship drifted silently in the outer rim of the sector, far from the chaos of the Threxian strongholds. Its cloaking field kept it hidden from any patrolling Dominion ships, but that didn't erase the tension simmering in the air. For the first time in weeks, the crew had a moment to breathe. However, the silence was far from comforting. It was oppressive. Alara stood on the bridge, her fingers resting lightly on the console. The warship systems hummed quietly around her, a soft contrast to the storm raging in her mind. The recent mission had been a success, but at what cost? The destruction of the supply hub was a major blow to the Threxians, but it had drawn their attention, and Alara knew they wouldn't stop hunting the black ship. Commander, we've received a transmission. Lieutenant Zhao's voice broke into her thoughts. It's encrypted. From who? Alara asked, her brow furrowing. Unknown, Zhao replied. It's a direct link to our comms array. I'm decoding now. Alara turned to face her. Patch it through. Moments later, the voice that filled the bridge was unfamiliar. Gravelly, strained, and full of authority. Alara Dane. The voice growled. You have no idea what you've just unleashed. Alara's blood ran cold. She recognized the tone, the accent. It was Threxian. Not just any soldier, though. This was a high-ranking officer. Who is this? She demanded, trying to steady her voice. The voice on the other end chuckled darkly. You'll find out soon enough. But make no mistake, Commander. You've made a powerful enemy. The Dominion doesn't take failure lightly, and you've just crippled one of our most important assets. We will find you. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving a ring of static in its wake. Alara stood frozen for a moment, her mind racing. She'd expected retaliation, but this was different. It wasn't just a warning. It was a promise. Commander, you're not going to let them intimidate us, are you? Zhao's voice interrupted her thoughts. We've faced worse before. We have, Alara said, her voice cold. But this is personal now. We've just poked the hornet's nest. And the Dominion's sting is going to be lethal. Voss, standing at the tactical station, looked up from the display. We need to move. They'll be coming for us with everything they've got. They'll want this ship, and they won't stop until they have it. I'm aware, Alara replied. Get ready for evasive maneuvers. Nix status on the cloaking systems. Fully operational. Commander, Nix's voice responded smoothly, though Alara sensed the underlying calculation. I suggest using the nearest nebula as cover. The dense particles will interfere with enemy sensors. Good idea, Alara said, turning to Zhao. Plot a course but make it unpredictable. We need to keep them guessing. Zhao nodded, fingers flying over the console. Course plotted. Ready when you are. Alara exhaled slowly, her gaze drifting to the stars beyond the bridge's view screen. For the first time in a long while, doubt crept in. She had been prepared to lead humanity in the war against the Threxians, but the path they were on felt like a spiral into an abyss. Every victory was a step closer to total annihilation. Commander, Voss said, his voice heavy with concern. I've been reviewing our recent engagements. The more we fight, the more it feels like we're being funneled into a corner. If we keep drawing attention like this, we're not retreating, Alara snapped, her voice steely. We fight. We have no other choice. Voss didn't reply immediately, but his gaze shifted to the floor. He knew what she meant. The war had already cost them everything. Earth was gone. Families were gone. They had nothing left to lose. The black ship was their final weapon, their last hope. Several hours later, the black ship entered the nebula, the swirling gases and particles distorting the view of the stars. The ship's cloak adjusted to the environment, keeping it hidden from any potential scanners. The crew was tense but alert, knowing they had a precious window of time before the Threxian reinforcements arrived. Alara moved from the bridge to her quarters, a cold weight in her chest. She sat at the small desk, opening a secure terminal. It was time to send a message to the last surviving members of Earth's government, the remnants of the Council scattered across the galaxy. The black ship was their last hope for survival, and the war was no longer just about resistance. It was about a future. Her fingers hovered over the keys for a long moment, uncertainty gnawing at her. Finally, she typed out a simple message. The war is no longer just about survival. It's about reclaiming everything we lost. I will lead us to victory, or I will die trying. I swear this on the ashes of earth. She sent the message and leaned back, closing her eyes. The weight of command had never felt heavier. Back on the bridge, Voss turned to Alara as she returned. Commander, the Threxians have arrived. They're not wasting time. Alara nodded, her face hardening. Let's make sure they regret it. Course plotted, Captain, Zhao said. We're out of the nebula in 5 minutes. I'll drop the cloak and execute evasive maneuvers. Good, Alara said. Prepare for battle. It's time to show them the true cost of underestimating humanity. As the black ship emerged from the nebula, the dark shapes of the Threxian fleet came into view. Alara didn't hesitate. This wasn't just another skirmish. This was the moment where they would either break through or be crushed. The black ship surged forward, its weapons coming to life. And Alara knew, with a certainty she couldn't shake, that there was no turning back now.